Alright, we gotta talk about that GL Ahsoka Tano. She's been out now for, what, like a month nearly? Nearly a month, 3 weeks. And a lot of people have been asking me, hey Scribbles, when should I actually farm GL Ahsoka Tano? She seems pretty good. And I thought that is something that we can address in this video today. When should you start farming GL Ahsoka Tano? The latest galactic legend, the top tier of the meta, not really. When should we do it? It's a good question. Here we have our lovely galactic legend Ahsoka Tano. We got her very, very quickly because I had been wailing all of my way through the end of last year to try and unlock her. We did a day one unlock. We got an unlock video. Very, very easy galactic legend event. We've got her up to Relic 9. We've got her modded out and all that sort of good business. And I've had a couple of weeks to play with her, both offensively, defensively on GAC and all this sort of business, and come up with some sort of ideas. So, is she actually any good is the first question. Yes. She is a perfectly acceptable galactic legend, and I think that she is relatively well balanced if we take into account that there are a number of bugs currently existing within the Spectre faction that is sort of impairing her ability to operate effectively. I say effectively as she could. She is still very, very strong, can beat pretty much anything, and holds relatively well on defense. Now, there are a number of counters that will be able to take her down quite effectively, and some of them are relatively old counters. That doesn't necessarily mean she's not a good character to invest in, because she is. The biggest concern that I have when it comes to looking at GL Ahsoka Tano and thinking about can we recommend people actually go and farm this character is that her requirements are, bar none, the highest level of requirements that we've had for anything ever in this game. And realistically speaking, when we look at a galactic legend and we think, what am I going to get out of this GL? We have to take into account what's it going to cost us, an opportunity cost, okay? Now, if you are in a position where you have every other GL and every other legendary, then I would say absolutely, you might as well start investing in GL Ahsoka Tano. However, if there are other GLs that you haven't yet got, I can't find it within my conscience to recommend people farm this character, simply because the set of requirements are astronomically high, and you also really would have had to have had Ezra Bridger Exile unlocked on your account as well. Now, I know that there will be a number of people that potentially are going to unlock Ezra Bridger Exile from these subsequent conquests over the next 2 months or so, even if you have missed your opportunity to get him straight away. And he is a fantastic character and can be used as a plug-and-play unit in a number of teams, Rey teams and Jedi teams as well. And he's very, very good. However, if you do not have Ezra Bridger Exile and you're pushing to unlock GL Ahsoka Tano, she's just not as good as she could potentially be because he brings so much to that team, he enables an incredibly quick ultimate, and he is such a pain in the tuchus to take out because of his high levels of evasion mastery as well as damage output and turn meter swapping capabilities. The other big thing, apart from looking at the number of Relic 9s, the number of new marquees, there are 6 marquees that you have to farm for this character, and there are what, 3 Relic 9s, 4 Relic 9s? 3 Relic 9s, a couple of Relic 8s, some Relic 7s, some Relic 5s, as well as needing a Conquest character. That is a heck of a lot to try and unlock a GL that basically does what any GL does. And I say that with a grain of salt, because there is nothing in the game outside of PvP and PvE game modes that actually rewards you for unlocking this character. I mean, sure, you could argue, oh yeah, but you've got Captain Enoch and the Peridia Patrol zombies, and they've got an assault battle. Well, I mean, you can unlock those characters without having to push for GL Ahsoka Tano. You don't necessarily get that. When you look at characters like the past 2 GLs, I'm talking about GL Leia and GL Jabba, those characters had brand new events that came to them that gave us some additional rewards. In particular, Smuggler's Run 2 that we got for Jabba the Hutt is possibly the most rewarding event that we can get as far as mod farming goes, or mod calibration even, and that is so valuable. Then you take him out and you look at territory battles, and he has got dedicated combat missions through every planet in the mixed zones for the entirety of territory battles. That's so valuable to have that unlocked and have that capability of being able to earn more territory points and more stars for your guild. And he also does it on full auto with pretty much any team. It is like such a good investment to get Jabba, because like I said, you get that Smuggler's Run 2, you get loads of calibration materials to help really improve your mods over time, you get really easy times in TB, and you get a Galactic Legend that is good both offensively and defensively in PvP game modes. When we look at Ahsoka, what do you get? You get a character that's good in TB. She's not fantastic, she's pretty good, she can beat pretty much anything with the rest of her team as you would expect, but there's no new assault battle, there's no, unique event like we have with Leia, which admittedly is not as good as Smuggler's Run 2, but it's still something that sweetens the pot. There's nothing else right now that incentivizes players to go and push for GL Ahsoka Tano. So why would you go for her instead of getting that Jabba that you never got, or getting that Leia that you never got, or getting that JMK, or getting that Lord Vader, or getting C, or literally any other GL that you could unlock probably in half the time with half the cost and get more benefit out of? That's my main concern when it comes to GL Ahsoka Tano. Now, I touched on this a little bit earlier, but there's also a number of bugs in this team. The most egregious of these bugs is the fact that Backup Plan simply just doesn't work. Now, we first saw the ability Backup Plan from the OG Hera Syndulla, OG Phoenix lead, and it's actually a very good locked buff. Essentially what it does is it places a locked buff on a character for 3 turns. Every time that character takes a turn, they're going to recover a certain amount of health, and if they are defeated whilst they have that buff available, they will revive at 80% health and 30% turn meter. It's a pretty good buff, right? I would say it's a pretty good buff. It gives you a revive on any character. They also introduced this onto the Conquest character Ezra Bridger Exile, which was a really good concept. If we take a look at Kanan's Legacy over here, we can see that we do actually get Backup Plan. You can see if Ezra targets a character with Kanan's Legacy and they happen to be a Spectre character, they're going to gain Backup Plan for 2 turns. That's great. However, the problem is when they use this, it doesn't actually do anything. If the character is defeated, they simply do not revive. This is made even worse by the fact if you look at Kanan's Legacy as an Omicron ability within Grand Arena, you can see that half of the actual Omicron ability is all Spectre allies will gain Backup Plan for 2 turns. So it's an AoE revive with that ability, and it's only a 4-turn cooldown. This is a massive amount of power that's baked into this Omicron that's simply not being used because it doesn't work, and I can show you. Take a look at this video here. It's Ezra's turn, we use Kanan's Legacy and pass that over to Padawan Sabine. She's a Spectre character, and you can see right there we've got Backup Plan available. Locked buff. If they are defeated with this ability active, they will revive with 80% health, as well as getting 30% turn meter. Leia's ult here defeats Padawan Sabine, and nothing happens. Why? And it just occurred to me right now that we should probably test to see if I just throw in Hera, the OG Hera over here. I want to see, is this an issue with the Spectre tag, or is this an issue with the Backup Plan that comes from Ezra Bridger Exile in particular? So we currently have Backup Plan that I gave from Hera Syndulla over to Padawan Sabine Wren. Now I'm hoping what they do is actually just defeat Padawan Sabine Wren so that we can see whether or not it revives and finally understand, is the problem that we are attacking against Ezra's Backup Plan, or is it just the fact that it doesn't work on Spectre? So I'm hoping they just target her down pretty soon and defeat her. There we go. Okay, so that confirms it then. It is simply the Backup Plan that Ezra provides other characters is not giving any sort of revive, because if we use OG Hera and use her Backup Plan, it does actually work, which is really frustrating. And the unfortunate part about this is that we've also got a potentially bugged encounter when it comes to Huyang. Now, I've had a discussion with this about a number of folks around is this working correctly or not, and we can't really decide if it is. You can see over here that this auxiliary grapplers is supposed to deal 1 instance of damage and then an additional instance of damage for every character that starts the battle with Exile. Now, in a normal circumstance outside of GL Ahsoka Tano, the only person that can start a battle with Exile is of course Ezra Bridger Exile. However, under GL Ahsoka Tano's lead, she provides it to all her Spectre allies. So you would think that if you use this ability under a GL Ahsoka Tano lead, then this will deal damage 5 times. Once for the initial instance, and then 4 additional times for every other character that has got Exile, because it does say deal an additional instance of damage for each other light side droid ally or ally with exile at the start of battle. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I believe that this check is only checking before Ahsoka Tano's leadership actually activates, so in a normal Spectre circumstance, you're only getting 2 instances of damage. Once for the initial hit, and once for when Ezra Bridger Exile is on the field and has Exile. Now the weird thing is I did test this with a number of characters that, with a number of droids to see if he'll actually do 5 instances of damage with a full team of light side droid allies, and it simply didn't work. It was kind of strange. And we can test this quite easily. So I'm going to try and get a turn over to Huyang very, very quickly. We can see everybody has started the battle exiled simply because we've got GL Ahsoka Tano's leadership. Now, I'll use this to get rid of this exile. That doesn't impact the way of the ability because it reads at the start of battle. And we'll just pass the turn over to Huyang over here. So once again, we'll read the ability of Huyang. What does it actually say? Deal physical damage to the target enemy and Spectre allies gain speed up for 1 turn. Deal an additional instance of damage for each other light side droid ally or ally with exile at the start of battle. So how many instances should it do? We've got 5 characters in total. Obviously it only counts for other characters with exile. You would think that it would apply 1, 2, 3, 4 times, I guess, because it's 4 instances, not 5, apologies. How many times does it actually hit? That's annoying. How many times does it actually hit? Let's try that again. 2 times. Once for the initial damage and once for Ezra. So it's definitely not working potentially as intended. However, we don't have any confirmation from CG around is this the way they wanted it to work, and they simply wanted Huyang to deal more damage in a full team of light side droid units. We don't really know until they come back off holiday, but trust me, I will be bugging Meathead to find out if that is the case. Now, it's when you combine all of these things together and you take a look at, as a whole picture, should we go for GL Ahsoka Tano? The answer is definitely still yes, because she's still a very, very good character to have. But realistically, the answer is yes if you have nothing else to get, because it's simply not worth it right now. She's great and everything, but no better than any other GL, and certainly far more expensive than any other GL. I'm just really hoping that once CG gets back into the office, they are going to address some of the rather glaring issues with the team, such as Huyang's ability and Ezra's inability to actually revive with backup plan, and the weird instances of true perfect defense that doesn't seem to be working quite right when it comes to General Syndulla. Apart from that, though, the team is still very good, it does perform very well, just not quite where it needs to be, in my personal opinion. So I guess the answer is yes, you should definitely farm her, just not yet. And I think that's going to about do it for our episode today, guys. Let me know in the comments section down below, have you got GL Ahsoka Tano? Do you enjoy using her, and do you think it was worthwhile? Make sure you do like the video before you go, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you all in the very next video. Peace out, and may the Force be with you.